Apps in Auth-Engine are dynamic, shareable user interfaces. The objective is to share the user interface elements to all the users, and apps are shareable, accessible from specific URLs. Well, publishing app is not that difficult task, but understanding the user interface is. We, in this video, will try to familiarize ourselves with the UI overview, widgets, panels and layouts, and events inside the Auth-Engine. All these guides are available from developers.google.com. We are summarizing, learning specifically, and making ourselves aware about the process as much as possible. The guides available are dense or likely to be so if one is new to the Auth-Engine. So we want to summarize and see what are there in the guides. This video is the quick jump to the Auth-Engine user interface. To begin, there is the package called UI package for the client-side user interface. UI package is used to construct a graphical interface for Auth-Engine scripts. They can be simple, like buttons and checkboxes, and they can be complex as well, such as charts, maps, and panels with layouts of UI and handlers for widget interaction. In the left-hand side, from the Docs tab, we can check the different functionalities of the UI package and find the basic functions. So here is the very first code representation of the simple UI button. When the button is clicked, it results on Hello World printed in the console. If we run this, we can see click me in the console that has been generated by UI.button, and only one argument UI.button has been used, inside which there is text, and onClick function has been called, and onClick runs as soon as the button is clicked. The call function is called callback function and happens when the event is triggered. The whole mechanism is something termed as the event. Here the button, when clicked, Hello World is printed in the console. And there is something called mutability. That is, we do not need to reassign the object to variable every time when we call an instance function on the object. So calling the function will change the widget, and previous code can be altered with another callback for the new results. So if we run this, and when we click here, both the results are printed. Now we talk about widgets. So the number of widgets are used to build user interface. They can be buttons and checkboxes, sliders, and text boxes, and selection menus as well. They can be printed or added to a panel. They can have different styles, and widgets can be added to the panels. The first one is UI. It displays the text and nothing more. Space can be added. So if we run this first, here we can see the text, and it can also be the space, white space inside the curly brackets here. If we recommend this and if we run this, there is a new line. So there is a white space in the sentence. And the second one is UI.button. It creates an interactive UI widget that can be clicked. So we saw this earlier as well. Here the function can be specified to be called when a button is clicked. Here in particular, maps the current center whenever we print, whenever we click the get map center. So here we are getting the result, and it's saying geometry computing. So if we hover the map somewhere else, and again we and this is getting the results every time. So this is just the UI dot button, an interactive widget. So the other one is UI dot checkbox. It is another widget letting the user check or uncheck the box. When the checkbox state changes, callbacks working in Boolean value indicates that the checkbox has been checked or not. So if we run this here, so we can see tick mark, and based on the tick mark, something here in the map overview changes. So it automatically adds the layer just on the tick mark. So if we move forward, there is another one that is called UI dot slider, and it allows the user to adjust the slider on a certain range. So here is a slider allowing for the change in the opacity of the first layer on the map. So this is the functionality, and the number or the numerical value appears on the right hand side. So we can slide the different values here. And the other one is UI.date slider. It makes the slider widget handling on the data, and there is the codes. There are the codes here, and we want to uncomment this first. When we run this, what it does, it generates a date slider. So of course the codes are longer. We are quickly jumping through the different codes. So but sure, we need to explore more on the codes and what's going on here. But overall, in a general way to understand is that it is generating a date slider. So the other one is UI.textbox, and it helps in collecting the text from the user, and what it does when we run is it allows the user to enter the text here, and it also prints the result or the text saying so what you are saying is text. It just adds the input string to the end of the other string here. And the other one is UI.select. It helps in creating drop-down menus for the user. So here, if we uncomment this and run this, so here we have the 3 different locations, and automatically whenever we select the location, it hovers the map at that particular location here. For example, it goes somewhere else, it goes somewhere else, and we have the 3 different locations. UI.select helps us to select the different locations here. This is a particular example. And the other one is UI.chart, and it is somewhat similar to chart package. We sure want to learn from that, from the pages which talks about charts. The other one is UI.thumbnail. This is the displaying of thumbnail either as the static image or the animated image. So if we here uncomment this one and run, what it does, it generates a thumbnail for the displaying purposes. And the other one is UI.map, and UI.map is a map widget helping in the manipulation of the content of the map by clearing, getting, or setting individual layers. So here we have some comments. We want to uncomment them. So what is it doing is it is generating a map in the console that I can say. So the other one is UI.map.layer. It is the representation of the layer, and layer properties can be changed based on the user inputs. So here is a particular example that does that. If we run this, so when the user enters the number for here different values, then the layer is changed based on that. Based on the user's input, the layer is changing here. And the other one is UI.map.cloud_storage layer. What it does, it shows the static layer for the visualization. And we also have UI.map.drawing_tools, and it helps in changing of the default tools, and it is useful when we want to add new maps in our apps. So nothing really is happening here, but it is useful when we want to add the new maps in the developed apps. And finally, we have the UI.map.geometry layer. It is something for the interactive changes. So when we uncomment this one, so what it does is doing is when how a computation is generated and labels are updated with the computation result when the user adds or edits or erases geometry. So whenever we point somewhere, it is generating a mean elevation. So UI.map.geometry layer is something for interactive changes. And there is a UI.map.linker, and it's simply just synchronizes the movements of multiple UI.maps instances. So here we have the two different maps. And we have the UI.split panel, and it changes the two things side by side. And here, if we comment and run, so UI.split panel, it is also available in the example section. So it is useful for the splitting and finding, seeing the changes maybe in two different images of two different types. And finally, widgets can have some styles attached to them. For example, here, if we run there, here we have the bitrate level, and it has been styled by UI.level and other added properties to that level. So this was the very quick overview of the different UIs available in Office Engine. So now we have the something about UI.panel. So after learning about widgets, we want to learn about panels, and UI.panel is responsible on how the widgets are arranged. UI.panel manages widgets, and the manipulation of widgets can be done by this. So everything below this horizontal bar, below the code editor, is something responsible through UI.root. And default map here can be modified in the root panel by addition of widgets. For the example, so if we just type UI.root.clear, it gives us the white canvas and nothing, and in which we can work and add our own widgets. So let us run this first. So if we run that code here, so this code is something whenever we click on it starts to generate the chart, and here you can see a white box appears and it says the generating the chart. So it is the display of the widgets or things you can do. Just an example, it's taking time. Hit. So the layouts control how widgets in panels are arranged. We have two layers, flow and absolute layout. UI.panel.layout specifies the layout. In flow layout, we have the order determined by the arrangement of the widgets. For absolute layout, position property determines the style of arrangement. In flow layout, the widgets are either in horizontal or a vertical column. So here are different codes here. So if we run this, we get this vertically arranged different buttons, and this is an example of flow layout. Similarly, we have the absolute layouts. It is responsible for helping the position of widgets according to the positions. The position property are determined. So if we uncomment them and run here, we get the different buttons arranged at different position, and that is the example of the absolute layout. So widgets are called by widgets function. In this example, we add widget to a panel, and panel is added to the root panel, and the chart is updated when the user clicks on the map. So here we have the whenever we click on it, it's generating chart. So it showcases the example of widgets. So here we have the clicks and it generates the chart. So it is a very nice app here. We sure want to explore this later. And finally, we want to move towards something called events. And events are caused by the user interaction with the widget or some programmatic changes at the widget. We have callback function from called onClick for UI.map or UI.button, and onChange for others. So callback functions of each widget can be viewed in the Docs tab. So that's in the left-hand side. Here in the left-hand side. And callback functions of each widget can be viewed as told in the Docs tab. So there can be multiple events from the single action from the user. When some selection is done, another widget is updated as well. So here we have some codes here. So if we do this one, and if you run this, as soon as we select a value here, for example SRTM, and it selects the elevation here automatically. And if we select here Landsat 8, the user gets to select different lands here, and it automatically is happening as soon as some selection is done. As soon as some selection is done, so these are the options available. Similarly, there is something called onListen, and what it does, this method is what it does is this method provides the ability to remove callback functions registered on a widget. So what it does, it prevents some triggering events which should have occurred only once, and the objective is to make the widget stop calling the function. For example, if you click here, we have run this one. So whenever we say open settings, something appears here, and we need to click on the map to collapse the settings panel. So it is happening as quickly as possible here. So whenever we click the map, it disappears. And there is something called asynchronous events, and when the UI is computing things, and the entire UI value or user interface should not be stopped, and for that process, this asynchronous events is very much important. So for this process, we use something called evaluate function, and whenever we click on to get the mean, something here, the thing is going on, but the UI won't stop or hang just because something is happening. So this was it. No doubt there remain so many things to learn. So this particular video was to share the little share the overview of the apps and user interface in the Art Engine. I want to say that there will be more videos in this topic, and we still want to learn more. I hope this video helped you for getting some ideas related to the user interface in a quick possible way. Maybe you get some ideas. I would be happy if you did. So to note again, the resources are available in developers.google.com in guide sections in much more detailed and much more helpful manner. So, however, this was my attempt to explain it in a very quick, in a very quick possible way. So thank you for watching. Thank you.